3 months. The most recent one was filed earlier this year, accusing Ms. Duterte of misusing public funds, amassing unusual wealth, and threatening to kill President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. However, the Supreme Court says the ruling does not absolve Ms. Duterte of the charges. The court's decision only means that Ms. Duterte is safe from possible ousting until February 2026. Now, this gives the Vice President more time to garner support as she prepares for a potential presidential run in the 2028 elections. Now, for more, Buena Bernal, she joins us live now from Manila. Buena, first up, tell us more about the court's verdict.
Well, in nullifying the articles of impeachment against the sitting embattled Vice President Sara Duterte, the Philippine Supreme Court, sitting en banc, essentially said that these government processes cannot be Machiavellian. Now, the text or the full text of the decision has not yet been officially released, but the Philippine Supreme Court spokesperson Camille Ting did quote the decision as saying, quote, "Our fundamental law is clear." She said, "The end does not justify the means. There is a right way to do the right things at the right time." Now, that decision in particular was in relation to a constitutional provision that mandates that Philippine impeachment proceedings or no Philippine impeachment proceedings shall be initiated against the same official more than once within a year. You can find that Article 11, Section 3.5 of the Philippines 1987 Constitution, and this has always been part of the technical defense, at the very least, of the Vice President's legal team. Now, if you recall, last June 10, the Philippine Senate, sitting as the impeachment court, actually returned the articles of impeachment to the lower chamber of Congress, the House of Representatives, where over 1/3 voted to impeach the Vice President, and the Senate then said that we require from you a certificate saying essentially that you complied with this constitutional provision, because an ally of the Vice President, Senator Bato de la Rosa, did raise that issue before the Senate that convened as an impeachment court last June 10. And now you see these government processes among the three branches of the Philippine government working to deal with this very issue that has been raised by the Vice President's legal team.
And Buena, to what extent will the running of the country and cabinet be impacted by this?
Well, Vice President Sara Duterte had already resigned from the Philippine cabinet, part of her symbolic gesture to actually express disdain against the sitting president, Ferdinand Marcos Jr. The two did run together, were allies in the presidential bid of Mr. Marcos 3 years ago, but had a falling out. And that political fallout, many analysts argue, has led to this impeachment process. But her legal team Friday afternoon welcomed this decision from the Supreme Court, saying that it showed that the court upheld the rule of law and initiated these measures against the abuse of the impeachment process. However, certain rights groups, including rights group I Defend, decried the delay. They called it a delay by the Senate, and that they decried that the court simply acted based on a technicality. Incoming Congressman Chel Jokno, who will represent the party Akbayan that was among the filers of the first 3 impeachment complaints prior to the 4th one that was pursued eventually, also saying that this is a loss for the Philippine nation, this is a loss for accountability. But of course, in relation to these allegations of fund misuse, including the use of fictitious names to as fake beneficiaries, supposedly by the Office of the Vice President and by the Department of Education when she headed it, these allegations can still be pursued in Philippine courts, separate from this impeachment process that the Philippine Supreme Court now says can be initiated after a year, considering that 1-year ban under the Philippine Constitution. And Initially, people were actually expecting the impeachment proceedings to start by August after the new Congress, the 20th Congress, convenes this coming July 28. But now with this decision, it's a wait and see, because a motion for reconsideration, that's essentially an appeal on this decision, can still be filed. And it's a wait and see how the Supreme Court will vote on that appeal.
Buena Banal in Manila, thanks for that report. Well, we are going to go for a short break now, but coming up, an East